I'm Chuck Werhli, retired captain from the Naperville Fire Department. Werhli, W-E-H-R-L-I. Yes, I'm on a FEMA team out of Missouri, Urban Search and Rescue Team, one of 28 in the country. That I'm a safety officer there, so they called that day and said, you need to come down, we're going to New York. 8 of the FEMA teams were sent to New York and 4 of them to the Pentagon right away.
We have something that has happened here at the World Trade Center.
All the way to the other.
We had seen a fireball, and I can tell you it appears tower number 2, at least from our vantage point, appears to be unaffected. This appears to be entirely in tower number 1.
Beginning to the end, first thing in the morning, I guess, is a nice clear day driving up to Arlington Heights, and then heard about the plane hit the building. It's like a lot of other people thought about the Empire State Building getting hit with a small plane. And I walked into the classroom, or right before I walked into the classroom, I called our task force in Missouri and said, I'm on my cell phone because my pager wasn't here, and not thinking they were going to call us. And as I walked into the classroom, they were watching it on TV already, and then the other plane hit. And within about an hour and a half, I was called on my cell phone to respond down to Columbia, Missouri.
Both buildings at World Trade Center are definitely on fire. There is black smoke coming from both of the...
And as we're getting closer and closer and closer to the tower, I realized that it's more and more serious.
We try to make the best assessment of the situation as far as the rooftop conditions that we had. And unfortunately, it was littered with all sorts of antennas and cables. And we told them at this time we couldn't get on the roof. We made a close approach towards the top of the building. I could actually look over, and I remember an arm and a partially obscured face peering out of the smoke. Was waving a white towel. And it was nothing we could do.
A lot of thoughts as I was going through the down the road, just trying to think of how many people were going to be there that were dead, what kind of sights I was going to see, if anybody else was going to attack any other parts of this, the country. One of the last comments I made to the guys in Arlington Heights was to watch the Sears Tower, because I thought it possibly could have been a target.
It's horrible.
And then the building just disappeared in the smoke. It was an incredible sight.
Oh my God, Jimmy Beaslin's wife. She works in the World Trade Center.
Wow, there's 40,000 people.
It's really hurt.
I can see the buildings in the smoke.
You see the buildings in the smoke?
Yeah.
Yeah. A couple of buildings are missing now.
But I don't want the building in the smoke.
Somewhere else, so nobody gets shot, right?
No.
Worst thing I could have ever imagined my whole life. I'm sad that I'm even watching it, to be honest with you.
You are about to be on with the mayor.
Mayor Giuliani to join us by telephone.
The first thing I'd like to do is take this opportunity to tell everyone to remain calm. It's a horrible, horrible situation, and all that I can tell them is that every resource that we have is attempting to rescue as many people as possible. And
A lot of people got wiped out. Sure.
A horrendous number of lives lost. I don't think we know yet, but we have a lot of police officers, a lot of firefighters, a lot of emergency personnel that were down there. We've moved city government to the firehouse in Greenwich Village. That's where I'm operating from right now.
Conditions are unreal. 10-4. Numerous members down. Numerous requests for oxygen.
I've seen dozens upon dozens of firefighters getting to the World Trade Center area. There is still a sense of crisis. We have police vehicles racing down the middle of the street, and still a sense that this thing has not been completely contained yet.
You got to force our way into buildings and start making 3-hour sentences. So I need possible entry tools and men.
Visibility in the worst hit area is said to be zero. Even now, hours after this happened, there are scores of emergency vehicles, and all around the sirens have been wailing, reminding people that
My first emotion was we were being busted in, and I called my wife because the streets were just lined with people with signs saying thanks for coming. And we always heard New York was very unfriendly people, but they were fantastic. They, signs, you're a hero, thanks for coming, and that was pretty emotional. All the guys were just flabbergasted to see the welcoming we had. So I had called my wife and told her we're here, and I was pretty emotional about it.
Okay, so Jones is our first team.
What's the job in there?
Whatever it is, to save somebody, one person saved, your life saved.
My position is a safety officer. With my background and my training, how safely can these guys go into a disaster site? What are the things we're going to look for as far as confined spaces, other structural collapses that could occur, obviously injuries from cuts and bruises. And one fireman, a rescuer from New York's USAR team, from Indiana's USAR team, got burnt down inside one of the voids when he opened up the void and flames were on the other side. Burnt his face. He did survive though. So anything has to do with the bloodborne pathogens from the dead bodies to making sure that they were deconned all their equipment before they went into the sleeping area, to proper transportation, accountability for all the people that were down there, which was very difficult to do for our team. We were assigned a 12-hour shift, but it ended up being overlapped like almost 18 hours a day, so very tiring. We go with the 72-person team, and we split them in half. So half of the team works at night, and then half of them work during the day. They were all dead by the time we got there. We got there within 24 hours, and the last live victims were pulled out before that, so we found no live victims at all. As far as the dead victims, from anywhere from pieces to full bodies that had been damaged, had injuries.
Firefighters and police officers. We lost the deputy chief of the fire department and the chief of the department.
Everybody asked me what it was like, and I tried to explain it looked like a movie set. And then they came out with the movie World Trade Center, and it was very realistic to that. Probably the most memorable stuff, a couple things, was seeing the looks on the policemen and firemen that were survived the collapse from New York. I knew 3 of them had died. Seeing the looks on their face, they just lost their brother firefighters. We're very close in the fire service, so they lost their brother firefighters and police officers. So the look on their face was pretty devastating. In my 10 days down there, 2 New York firemen cry on my shoulder just because they had to release the stress because they were not leaving until they found their other co-workers. 7 years before 9/11, I was riding in New York with a very famous fire chief. He had to go to a meeting and asked me if I wanted to go ride with Rescue One. Now, Rescue One's one of the most elite rescue companies in the world. And I was just privileged to go ride with them only for 3 hours. Being a fireman, you always buy one of the shirts that said Rescue One on it. And I wanted one of their rescue services patches. And this older gentleman took his hat off and tore his patch off his hat and gave it to me. To me, that was just a very cool moment. And that patch, as my wife will tell you, we thought we lost it one time, and it's very important to me. I thanked the guy for doing it, and he said, "Don't worry about it, I got a lot of them at home, and it's okay." Well, September 11th came, and about September 14th or 15th, we were on the pile, and whenever we were told when we got there, if it's a policeman or fireman, we bag them up, and then the policeman or fireman from New York take him out, carry him out. And if you saw that day, in the stretchers with the American flags on top, and everybody stopping with their helmet over their chest. So that was, we all knew that, okay, if it's a policeman or fireman, they take him out. Well, the day I was up on this one beam, and my guys, the dogs, found a civilian lady and a New York fireman. So they bagged them both. They found out the fireman was from Rescue 1. The guys came up the beam that I was at, and I told them, pointed down there, and I gave them a hand, and they kind of, because this is like 4 days straight, these guys have been working. So they grabbed the civilian, or our guys carried the civilian out, and then they were coming up to the beam again where I was at. It was about a 30-foot void. They were trying to lift, there's only 3 of them, they were trying to lift his body bag up, and I said, brothers, I'm a fireman too. I'm not just a urban search and rescue guy. I said, I'd be proud to give you a hand. So I grabbed the bag and helped them pull it up, and then they went on their way. 2 months later, I found out that was Joe Angelini, the guy that tore the patch off his hat and gave it to me 7 years earlier. So it was like a little way of paying the guy back from that.